Well, welcome everyone to the Fundraising Appeal Throwdown. This is going to be a really fun interactive webinar. We're going to be reviewing fundraising appeals live and seeing which one is the most compelling. Really, which one is the is the one that will make someone make that donation. So I'm really excited to get started. We're going to give everyone like a minute or two to sign on. So we'll take just a second before diving into all the content. Before that, I do want to let you know of a few housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded, so you're going to be able to review this later. I'm going to send this out in an email tomorrow, so you can watch the recording. You'll get access to the slides as well. So we have a few good slides to kind of set the stage before we dive into the actual throwdown. So don't worry, you can access those slides too. And we really want to hear your feedback in the Q&A, and if you have any questions for us, and also the chat. So if you want to share your fundraising appeal to be reviewed live today, please do that in the chat. It's going to be really fun. We'll pick out a few appeals from the audience. Of course, we have some already queued up. But if you want to add your appeal to the fundraising appeal throwdown, just message us in the chat and we'll try and get that added to our queue. Also wanted to let you know that we also want to hear from you and what your best practices and suggestions are about the fundraising appeals. What do you think of each of them and how it could be improved to really get more donations, and also what they're doing right? We want to point out what each of these appeals is doing great, and also see what opportunities there are to raise more. So it's a very constructive environment. Don't be too afraid of submitting your appeal. We will be very kind. The idea is to really just help you write the best appeal possible. And that's great with especially Giving Tuesday and year-end fundraising coming up. So, all right. That being said, I want to get started with our fundraising appeal throwdown. Also, just to open up the chat, I would love to hear from you what organization you're with and what fundraising appeal you're writing next. So what's your upcoming campaign you're writing an appeal for that brings you here today? So would love to hear from you in the chat. So I'll take a look at the chat in just a moment. All right, for today, I am going to be your host. My name is Candace. I run content and education here at CauseVox. If you've attended our other webinars or courses, you might have seen me before. Rob was supposed to join. He might still join. He is getting a little held up with a nanny situation. So he's the co-founder and CEO here at CauseVox. And so it'd be great if he's able to join. If not, we have plenty of good good content your way as well. And I am very excited to be joined by Abigail Quinlan, who's the nonprofit strategist at Nonprofit 101. Abigail, I'd love to hear from you if you want to introduce yourself and give the audience a taste of who you are and what you do.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to be here. This is a really, really fun opportunity for me. I think year-end appeals and Giving Tuesday appeals are really important to a lot of nonprofits. So I'm here to give my insight and really help you out. Like Candace said, I'd really love to see all of your guys' ideas, because you only get better if you actually put yourselves into it. So please be active in the chat. Let us know what you have to say today.
Awesome. Thanks, Abby. Awesome. So let's get started with just giving you the rundown. Also, before going any further, if you haven't already heard, this webinar is being hosted by CauseVox. CauseVox is a digital fundraising platform designed to help you raise more with less effort. So we have donation pages that you can put right on your website to take more donations year round, one time and recurring. We have ticketing. So if you have an upcoming event you want to sell tickets for, we definitely serve that purpose as well. We have crowdfunding and peer-to-peer fundraising, which is perhaps what we're best known for. So really easy for you to spin up campaigns to help you raise more in less time. And we also just launched Pledge Now, Pay Later, which is a tool that allows your donors to commit to giving a large amount and then breaking it up into installments so that you can actually get more large gifts online throughout the year. So I think it's the next big trend. We'll see, but that is available if you're interested in exploring that. All right, so let's go a little bit over, let's go over our webinar agenda today. We're going to be going over briefly the components of a great fundraising appeal. Then we're diving into our throwdown, and we'll have some next steps and Q&A for you at the end. Again, this webinar is being recorded. You're going to get the recording in your inbox tomorrow, and we'll also send out the slides. All right, so we're going to be keeping an eye on the chat. Please submit your fundraising appeal for review. We have a bunch already in the queue, but would love to hear from you. And if you have any links to your live fundraising appeal, or even a link to a Google Doc with your drafted appeal in it, would be a great way for us to review it today. So, all right, so I want to get us started with just the very, very basics of what is a fundraising appeal. If you're here, you probably know, but for those of you that don't, that might just be getting started. Fundraising appeal is the persuasive content a nonprofit organization uses to ask for financial support from its donors for a specific fundraising initiative. So this is something that you would use for Giving Tuesday or your year end. It could be used in a multiple number of ways. I'll go into that more in a little bit, but this is what you're fundraising for a specific initiative. And it's all of the written content mostly that goes into asking for that gift. So this is what is really compelling to your audience and what makes someone decide to give a gift to your organization. So your appeal is really important. And it is the backbone of your fundraising campaign marketing strategy. So one of the things that I recommend before doing anything else when it comes to setting up a campaign site online or setting up your email strategy, all of it is going to come from this fundraising appeal, because this is the central story around your campaign. And it's really, really important for all of your marketing initiatives so that you can basically take bits and pieces of this and integrate it into your whole marketing plan. So this is the first thing that you should be doing when it comes to your marketing and all of the verbiage that you're using around any fundraising initiatives you might be doing. So where does this fundraising appeal go? It can go in a lot of different places. A lot of fundraising appeals also come in the form of an email. Sometimes your whole appeal is an email. It's just an email ask. And so it could be something that you write in an email, strong piece of content compelling someone to give. Or you could also use it in direct mail. That has actually been typically the historical use of fundraising appeals are mailed to donors or potential donors, and hopefully they send something back. And what we see it most used as is on online fundraising sites. So the best thing about an appeal is that you can actually write one appeal and then put it all these places. So you can repurpose the content for multiple different forms of communication. So that same appeal that you write can be used across your marketing channels. And then you're also probably going to take pieces of this appeal and put it in your social media posts. Maybe take a little part of the appeal or condense it into a social media post, or have focus on different parts of your appeal throughout an email campaign. Fundraising appeals also are greatly repurposed for peer-to-peer appeals. So if you're engaging people to fundraise on your behalf, you're probably going to be using this fundraising appeal that you write and rewriting it as if you're an individual asking a friend or family member to make a donation to the organization. So this content is still repurposed for peer-to-peer fundraising as well. And just any other marketing asks or any other asks that you make on multiple different channels. So really, this is why your appeal is the backbone, because you're really integrating it across all of your asks for your whole campaign. All right. I've said a lot of things about campaigns. I figured I should just kind of clarify what we mean by online fundraising campaigns. So, very briefly going over where this appeal could be placed on your site to help you fundraise. So, basically, an online fundraising campaign consists of an online fundraising site that's branded for your organization. It's usually short term, so it's tracking progress towards a fundraising goal and a specific end date. There's tons of content on the page. One of the main pieces of content being that fundraising appeal, and also video and accompanying images. There's an easy way to donate on the site with some suggested giving levels, hopefully tying back to your fundraising appeal and some of the impact that you shared about what you're making with the your overall campaign. There should be some easy sharing options for your donors or other site visitors to share to their own platforms that they're engaged on. And then there's also a donors listing at the bottom, kind of showcasing who recently gave. And then sometimes there's that peer-to-peer component with personal and team fundraising pages. So I just wanted to give you a quick idea of what this kind of looks like in action. So this is Volo City Kids Foundation. They're doing a marathon campaign that's coming up actually very soon. And so you can see it's all branded. They have this video here that actually shares a really compelling story. If you want to, I can paste in the link to this if you want to watch it later. The story actually made me cry in front of a live audience on a webinar. It's very powerful. And then here is what we mean by the appeal on the page. So on the left here, it says Volo Kids is on a mission to use play to build communities of active, resilient, and confident kids. They have this content here. They have a great image. It's really cool graphic, and then also a picture of the marathon. So it gives people a good idea of what this campaign is all about. And then there's lots of content on the page. And so this is where the appeal goes. If you're using Cosvex or if you're using any other fundraising platforms, very similar layout. There's also this sidebar with some additional calls to action on it, which is pretty cool. They have peer-to-peer going on because it's a marathon. So they have all the individual marathon runners fundraising that they also repurpose that appeal for and just kind of tweak the language to make it sound like an individual. So I just wanted to give you an idea of what it could look like integrated on a page. So you get an idea of the greater context of where these fundraising appeals are used. So yeah, and some of the benefits of having a great fundraising appeal is that you are going to get your audience more invested in your campaign with a great, well-written appeal that's compelling. And we'll go into some of the things that what we're looking for when we're assessing these appeals. It also increases sharing. So if someone is invested in the story that you're telling for your campaign, it's going to get people more just engaged emotionally, and then also will, of course, increase sharing because they'll be more eager to share it with friends and family. It also gets a lot of people invested to the point where they might sign up as a peer-to-peer fundraiser. So if that's something that you're aiming to do, you can tweak your fundraising appeal kind of towards that, or a call to action towards that. But great fundraising appeal gets people very invested to also increase peer-to-peer fundraising engagement. Of course, it increases donations. So that's the whole idea and purpose of a fundraising appeal, is to get people compelled enough to make that gift. And it sets you up for donor retention. So if people are impressed with the content that you're sharing and they get a real good idea of how their donation is going to be used, you're creating a great starting point to start a long-term relationship with that donor, because they are given enough information to make a gift the first time, and hopefully that sticks with them on an ongoing basis. And so you can continue to nurture and convert that donor again. So I want to go over the components of what actually makes a fundraising appeal great and what makes it compelling. And Abby's gonna kind of take a few points from here and share with us.
So the first things we really want to talk about when creating that great appeal is making sure that it's succinct and readable. So you need to be very intentional with the words that you put into it and how you're structuring it, because people do have a very short attention span. The reason that Instagram rolls and all of the TikToks and everything work is because it's super short and we can keep swiping. So we need to think about that in terms of our appeals too. We don't want long paragraphs. Having images is really helpful because it catches the eyes while still telling a story. And keeping it short, no more than 600 words, is really, really important. And part of your fundraising appeal, you're going to want to explain why and what you're fundraising for. So what does your organization do? Keep that to a sentence or two. What do the donations and the specific initiative support specifically? And you can do that through verbiage and images so people are seeing how their impact is going to support. And the bonuses include how you've made an impact in the past. So start the appeal with, I know you've given in the past and you supported X, Y, and Z. This is what we're doing this year. And now explaining why you're fundraising. So adding in short context about the why you want or need to fundraise. This could be the constituents. This could be needing a new building. This could be needing new space, new items. Whatever it is, add in the context of why you need to fundraise. The why is what you're fundraising for, and making sure that you connect to the right solution, which is your donor. And then the who and how many people will be helped, just highlighting all of the impact that everyone who is getting your appeal is going to want to feel as they're reading your letter.
Awesome. Thanks, Abby. And I wanted to share a little bit more about another key component, which is telling a good story. So you can do a great job of saying what your organization does and why you're fundraising, but telling a story actually connects your supporters emotionally to what you're fundraising for and why you're fundraising. So having a person featured really does capture the mind of your donor, because they're going to be able to connect with an individual and see what your how your organization has actually contributed to the impact in people's lives. So something that we've found is that people don't give to organizations necessarily. They're giving to people. People give to people. So they want to be part of that story. And so one of the things that you do when you tell a story in an appeal is you're actually bringing that donor into that story so that they can make a donation and make more stories like the one you shared possible. So a good story, just as a basic, sometimes when you say story, it can sound a little overwhelming. It has a lot of, it could be very lengthy. But when you're telling an appeal, like we said, when you're telling a story in an appeal, like we said, it should be pretty short. So basically the basic things, framework of a story should just be part of that appeal. So what the individual's life was like before your organization got involved, how the organization helped, and how ongoing impact is seen in their life. As a best practice, you might want to include a picture of the beneficiary you're talking about, or have like a corresponding video. That's always really, really powerful for them to tell their own story in their own voice. And then also, one of the big things is that you don't want to just tell that story because then it just stays with that one person. You also want to cast a vision of what it would look like when you reach your goal and how many more stories could be impacted by your organization. So when you're casting vision, it should share what the result of reaching your fundraising goal will look like. Or alternatively, you can also share what the consequence of not reaching your goal will look like. How many people will you not be able to impact if you don't reach your fundraising goal? So this puts that urgency on that donor to really come through and make that gift. So this is really where you're ramping up to have that persuasive text that makes the donor really buy in to your organization's vision by putting that donation down. And you also might want to just consider how the vision for this campaign ties in with your overall vision for your nonprofit and have a statement around that. Another essential component of a fundraising appeal or a great fundraising appeal is a strong call to action. So you wrote this whole very persuasive piece of content. They get to the end and just says, support us. And they're like, I support you. I'm very supportive of this piece of content. This was a great story. I really liked it. No, you need to actually make that call to action, share what you want the person to do to get involved. So whether it's donate, which is typically the call to action of an appeal, and you should also create a call to action that reinforces why it's important that they donate now, because someone could be very compelled to donate, but you need to reinforce the urgency in order for them to even be more compelled to make that gift now and not come back later. And again, one of the best things that you can do is just invite your donor into the story that you're telling with your appeal. So these are a lot of the components that we're looking out for when we are assessing these fundraising appeals, and some of the things that we're going to be talking about. So I think it's time that we dive into our fundraising appeal throwdown. I saw a couple entries. Erin, I think I just need access. I clicked on the Google Doc link, but I don't have access yet. So if you give me access, I can share that. And Jennifer, I have yours pulled up into the queue as well. Anyone else, feel free to go ahead and share your appeals. All right, let's go over this first one. Let's kick it off with the email appeal from Youth on Record. This is an email appeal, so let's kind of dive in and take a look. So maybe I should read it out. Should I read it out loud? Or Abby, if you want to read it out loud, we'll just kind of
be happy to read it out loud. So at the top part here, it's just stating some details about when they're sending it out and to who they are sending it to, which is great to include on all of your info so you don't forget. And they're going to customize it. So it's hi, insert name here. Today is the day. Our 20K Colorado Gives Day campaign starts today. We are so grateful to have 100+ donors each year give locally, and we're counting on your support again this year. You can schedule your donation here and enter to win free AEG tickets and a private YOR media studio tour with our teaching artists. That sounds like a lot of fun. Insert name, so they're keeping it personal. With support from people like you, Youth on Record will continue to forge a bold path for young creatives to build their skills, networks, confidence, and strategies to become economically self-sufficient, doing work that they love and are passionate about. And they have a couple notes to insert graphics or a photo and a link to CoGive's page. And it is signed by their director of community giving. I really enjoyed the PS. I'd love to hear why you chose to give to Youth on Record. Feel free to reply to this email or call me. So that's a really cool ad there.
I love this appeal. I think it's really great because it's very succinct. I can fit it on this page. It's not too long or lengthy. It kind of captures my attention right away too. It's just very easy to read. So that's a huge plus with this. But I also love so much about this appeal too, where it is so personalized. Like I think having those names,
Yes.
that's just great because you're actually asking an individual to give, right? And so it's personal to them when you put that name in. I've also seen a lot of statistics that even just like having the name in the email like increases, I think it increases donations 71%. I could be wrong. This is like I'm referencing some very old old statistic, true. But I think so.
Yeah, it's very accurate that being personal, like we all want emails that are personalized to us and why we give. So it's really helpful for nonprofits to come from that angle. The only thing that I don't see in this appeal is if you're the first time donor last year and they're reaching out to you because it says it's going to all donors in the database, I might not remember why I gave to you last year. So just a little hint, sure, I could go back and look at it and figure out who you are. But if you have it in your appeal right away, like, hey, you gave to this, like, and this is the impact in the first sentence, that would definitely remind me, yep, my $50 is going to that again. So that's the only thing in this whole thing that I would change or add to.
Yeah. I think it would be great. So I see with like the insert graphic or photo, I'd be very curious to see what that graphic or photo is going to be.
That could be a great way to do it
Because
too.
yeah, like I think there's something to, you can kind of use that graphic or photo to tell a story. Like one of the things that I've seen work really well is when you have even like just a picture of one of your beneficiaries and a quote like from them about how your organization made an impact. That tells its own story. And it actually tells it in the voice of the donor, which I appreciate. So
That's a
that could
great
be,
point.
so if that's how they were planning on using that graphic, I think it'd be really strong. I would just love to kind of see more of what they were thinking. And one of the things I also really liked, well, number one, even like they made it so personal with Jacob's asking, people why they chose to give, and like giving his number out so people can connect with him, which I think is really cool. I would also love like a strong, like a little bit stronger of a call to action here, I think.
Yeah, because it just asks for their support rather than like, here's how you can give again.
Or like just like saying like, like give today to support youth on record, just anything that kind of like ties it in with, because this is also specific to Colorado Gives Day. So, you know, I think tying that call to action in with this Giving Day initiative is also really important. So it says it at the top, but I think reiterating it at the bottom could be great. Another thing I really liked actually is this ability to win tickets. I think it's kind of fun. Like that shouldn't be the reason why someone gives, but it does sort of add like this fun element to giving as well.
You could put in like the deadline for donations here to enter to win. And that could be the motivating call to action too.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, I love this appeal. I think it's really strong. I would just say, use that graphic to tell a little bit more of a story, have a little bit more of a stronger call to action, and I think you're good to go. And maybe even just, at the beginning, put a little bit more as to, what they're supporting. Exactly. Like Abby said. So really good. All right, cool. Let's see what's up next. All right, so I have this campaign. It's from, I believe I have it pulled up here. So I have this campaign that was submitted by Resilience Across Borders. It's actually live now. And so I wanted us to focus on the appeal. So I just kind of screenshotted their appeal. So we can kind of go through this now as well. Off the bat, I almost don't even want to read the whole thing out loud because it is going to take a few minutes. So that's actually a great way to test if your appeal is too long to like read it out loud and see how long it takes, So, but I'm going to kind of go through it pretty quick. So we believe that when mental wellness is prioritized, children can fully unleash their potential and everyone benefits. You can help us increase access to mental health interventions for children in underserved schools so they have the resilience skills they need to weather life's storms. Are you ready to change a life? Ways to get involved. Donate. Your contribution is more than a donation. You help students learn to be proactive leaders, gain a sense of self-mastery, strengthen their social connections, and allow them to bounce back from difficult experiences. You help expand the number of mental health providers who are trained to provide evidence-based treatment, thereby reducing the burden of mental illness. Your support also helps us to develop and share the best practices to improve mental health interventions for all children and adolescents. Volunteer. Are you an educator or a curriculum writer? We are in the process of adapting our small group program to be used directly by 5th grade teachers with their entire class. We would love any feedback, suggestions, or supplemental material ideas. Are you fluent in another language? We are also looking for help translating our parent newsletters. Please email us at info@resilienceacrossborders.org if you're interested in volunteering. Advocate. when you spread the word about our mission and programs, you broaden our community. Together, we can reduce barriers and increase access to mental health resources for all children and adolescents. If you feel comfortable sharing stories of your own struggles or reaching out to someone you think may need support, can help reduce the stigma of mental illness. To learn more about resilience across borders, watch this brief welcome message from our founder, Dr. Mary Alvord. And there's a video there, which I also think is fantastic, to have any kind of supplemental video content so that you can sort of engage people across multiple channels. I think we all, in this internet age, we consume media differently. So maybe some people consume better and get a better sense of or learn better from watching a video than from reading text, and vice versa. So some people will gravitate towards one or the other. And also video is such a great way to share those stories as well.
The visuals in video are really helpful and compelling.
Mm-hmm.
So for this one, I do agree. I think it is a little too long. It's very informative though. So if it's going on a website or something, that is really helpful for people to know the process and how they impact. But as an appeal going out, it is a bit too long. The donate, volunteer, advocate, you can kind of word those down into one sentence each, because I do think the intro paragraph is very compelling in itself. So you know what the program is, you know how they're really impacting people. And then these are the 3 ways you can get involved and how you would be involved in that way. So it's a great appeal, just a little long.
Yeah. And the one thing I think is, what do you actually, because this is actually a Giving Tuesday campaign, I believe. So it's kind of, so with Giving Tuesday and what you, I guess you want to narrow down what you most want people to do, right?
You need to have a serious goal. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like if this is a call for volunteers, or if this is a call for advocacy, and that's your primary goal with this campaign, then I would make whatever your primary goal is the main call to action. Maybe you want to have some lesser content at the bottom of the page around like other ways you can support us. That's always good. It sounds like these are great as like a secondary call to action, but I think these should be moved lower, and kind of the main appeal should really be focused on donating. And like Abby said, I think there's ways that you can kind of condense this language, because it's really powerful in the begining. It says, "Are you ready to change a life?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm in." And then I'm like, "Oh,
right.
which one should I pick? I don't know. These are all great options." So it's like, when you focus on one call to action, you're going to get a lot more donations coming in that way. One of the things I would really love to see here is just even a picture and maybe that quote of one of the children, with, of course, like them and their parents' permission. I'm sure that's probably maybe a little hard to get. So even if you can't get an actual picture, but even a quote to share, that would be really, really helpful in me connecting just like what your organization does and to, that story. That's really gonna be compelling.
Right. And that could be from a parent's perspective, and you have a family photo showing what's going on, but still having an image there will be really compelling.
I also think having a little bit of context too is to, how many how many people are going to be benefited from this campaign. So I believe the goal was to raise $5,000. So how many kids are going to be impacted? How many kids are you going to be able to serve by meeting this goal? And so kind of reinforcing that for the donor, so that you can even show like, hey, once you know how many kids are going to be served, then it's very easy to tie a dollar amount to serving a certain number of kids. So that's really powerful, because it says, "Are you ready to change a life?" $50, I can make a donation, and a kid gets access to therapy. That is really going to compel me. So there's a lot of great things here. I think some of the language is really strong, but by putting a little bit of that tie to impact, that's going to get you a long ways to getting people really compelled to change that life. So, but great campaign. I love it. Really good cause. Yeah, I think there's a few tweaks and you're good to go. And hopefully can raise more and change so many lives. Yeah, so I also want to stop sharing my screen. We have a few submissions that we can get to as far as actual like live campaigns. I want to get to, I just really love this one appeal from a couple of years ago. I think it's one of my favorite appeals I've seen in a long time. So I wanted to share this one from Fiverr Children's Foundation. So this is from their Giving Tuesday campaign back in 2018. It's an oldie but a goodie. Their video is no longer available. It's very sad, but you can kind of see how they set their page. They have their goal and everything there. But I just love their appeal. So I don't know, Abby, if you want to take this one.
I love their appeal too, because if you read through this, and you guys can all go to this website and check it out still, it's very targeted. So they know their goal. They had that established right away. They wanted to raise $40,000. That was clear. And it was really nice to see how many donors were also with that. But they start with a story. So since opening our doors in 2000, more than 1,500 children have experienced the magic of Fiverr. So right there, you already feel like really engaged because this is a story. And it goes on to talk about Justin, who is an alumnus that completed his 10-year Fiverr journey in 2018. His graduation speech excerpt, I'm going to actually read this one because I think it's really powerful. I believe all my life that I've been misunderstood. Growing up, I was called annoying, rambunctious, and impulsive. Fiverr started to change me. We learned how to make fun without technology and to cherish nature. I learned it's okay to be me. I had the strength to realize my own flaws and become a better person, and that is why I'm forever grateful to Fiverr. So, I mean, who has ever been in the situation where they feel like they're just not accepted into society? Pretty sure everyone has. So no matter what part of society didn't accept you, no matter how you felt, you're going to connect with that story and that quote and just keep going throughout this. It really helps to make that beautiful connection. It's also very helpful that they included images of all of their students, and people are able to see kids from different ages. So if you're a parent with a student who doesn't feel accepted right now, you're seeing that throughout this campaign and you're going to feel connected too. So this campaign for me is one of my favorites too, because it's so compelling and it's short and sweet. I don't think any of the paragraphs that they segmented have more than 4 sentences. So it's really nice. It keeps the flow. The quote was broken up and strategically kind of placed so that really pulled focus. So they're able to really highlight that person and get that story scene, which is really important. And I'm pretty sure it's one of the ways they really helped get them to the $40,000 goal. Highlighting Justin was a great idea.
Yeah, I just love the quote because you hear his voice too, right? Like, I just think that quotes, even over and above like a nonprofit sort of like telling someone's story for them, a quote allows someone to really share with their own voice how the organization has impacted them. I even love the heading here. This holiday season, make more Fiverr stories possible. So from the beginning, I'm invited into making more stories like this possible for Justin. So I'm, as the donor, I'm invited into the story, which I think is very compelling. One of my favorite things also is how they tie, and this is kind of how I was saying earlier, like tying the story into the overall vision. And so even just this bit of language in a space devoid of judgment and filled with affirmation, kindness, fivers like Justin develop an authentic sense of self. With confidence and direction, they are ready to make an impact on the world. So it takes it outside of just Justin and helps you imagine, you know, if this is what happened with one kid, how many kids that they've already served like can be impacted through this gift as well. And I think they had a really strong call to action. It says, with your support, we can continue to this important work, making more transformational. With your support, we can continue this important work, making more transformational journeys with Fiverr possible. In this season of giving, we hope you will consider investing in our youth with a donation today. So I even just love this last bit, investing in our youth with a donation today. They kind of tie in season of giving, you know, you're giving gifts to everybody. Why not make a gift to, you know, really help invest in youth? I just love this call to action because it's urgent. It reminds me that they want the donation now. But it's also kind of positioning me again as like kind of entering into the journeys that Fiverr is making possible as the donor. I also like that they kind of stuck the bit about Giving Tuesday at the end, because like most people kind of know what Giving Tuesday is, but in case they're like interested in what this is that they're actually fundraising for, they have like a little blurb at the end. They didn't like go into like Giving Tuesday in their actual appeal, which is I you know, I think it's helpful. You don't need the whole background. Most donors kind of know. I don't know, anything else that you had to share about this one?
Can you actually scroll back up to the top so Jacqueline can see where the goal is?
Yeah.
There we go.
So yeah, they did really well.
Yeah, I really like the feature. I like how it's customizable because you can tell it's in their branding colors and everything is really succinct. So this just looks really good.
Awesome. Thanks. Well, if anyone wants a campaign like this, you can use CauseVox. They use CauseVox for their Giving Tuesday campaign. You can brand it, set your goal, put in your appeal and all of that, and just get it going really quickly. I mean, I think setting up a site like this takes maybe like a half hour. So you don't need to know how to code or anything. We have free plans, so you really can get started at any level. So if anyone wants more information, be happy to share. All right, this is yet another amazing appeal that has been submitted. I am really excited about this one. It was just submitted earlier in the chat. I believe this is from Erin Inklin. And so thank you for your, or wait, sorry,
I think it's Jennifer.
Jennifer Frobish, sorry about that. Advancement Director for Fraxa Research Foundation. Jennifer, thanks for your submission. I'm excited to dive into it. So this I'm seeing for the first time, so should be cool to kind of take this all in at once. And I'm just gonna read the appeal, I think. Gives us a good framework for it. So can you imagine waiting years to hear your child talk? For many families with Fragile X, this is their reality. Ty Weber relied on others to be his voice for the first 6 months of his life, but thanks to your support, Fraxa-funded research laid the groundwork for a clinical trial that changed Ty and his family's world forever. Today, Ty can talk. Your investment in Fraxa Research Foundation funds life-changing research for those living with Fragile X syndrome. Meet Zach and Leslie Weber, who are raising 3 boys with Fragile X syndrome. Ty, the youngest of the Weber boys, participated in a clinical trial rooted in lessons learned from previous Fraxa studies. Over the course of the trial, Zach and Leslie watched as their son began enunciating single words clearly. As Ty's language exploded, typical Fragile X behaviors like tantrums, throwing things, and screaming decreased. Fraxa offers hope and a path forward. Although Ty's behaviors and speech improved, he is still in dire need of treatments that can fully alleviate him from the challenges of Fragile X, and stories like Ty's echo throughout the Fragile X community. Clinical trials have led to improved treatments, but they have not yet led to definitive available treatments that can truly allow those living with Fragile X to live their lives unaffected. Ty and many others need you to help Fraxa move trials across the finish line to production. Fraxa has invested nearly 32 million in vast range of research, including successful clinical trials. You can help Fraxa funded research teams in 19 countries accelerate the path to effective treatments and ultimately a cure by donating today. Your gift is an investment in the lives of families with Fragile X, an investment changing the future of Fragile X. With appreciation and hope, Katie Clapp, co-founder and president. And then I want to read the PS. It's kind of blurring on me with Canva, but it says, we need your contribution, funds research that changes lives of kids like Ty and thousands of others living with Fragile X. Return your gift. I don't know.
Canva.
It's because it keeps return your gift in the provided envelope or donate at fraxa.org. Okay, great. Abby, first thoughts, initial thoughts here.
I love how eye appealing this is. So having that statement of, can you imagine waiting to hear your child talk? I cannot. I mean, I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and not hearing them talk to me would kill me inside. So this is amazing. It linked me with literally the first sentence. So first of all, I'm going to go support you guys today because I am almost in tears. This is beautiful. I love how this is laid out. I love how you used your brand colors to really pop things that you want to be seen. Like your investment, you continue that throughout the appeal. So that was really important. Your verbiage stayed the same. And while you told the story, you still input Fraxa's impact in their lives throughout the story without detracting from their life experiences, which is really hard. And it's very impressive that you did it in such a strategically beautiful way. So I'm very impressed with this appeal.
I also, I mean, I just love the focus on the story, which is really what gets me roped in. And I think as someone that is just, seeing this for the first time, I would maybe even love to hear more about what, so it says like a lot of like your gift is an investment. I would love to hear like, is this a specific campaign? Is this all that Fraxa does? Because I'm not sure, right? So like,
Right.
I would love to hear more about your, like if this is like a specific program that you're running, and then if so, like how much are you looking to raise with this specific ask as well? Or how much are you really asking of me too? So this could be great to even like kind of segment out to audiences where you might ask for a different gift size depending on your history with like previous donors. Could be an interesting opportunity. I actually really love the PS, and I wish it was a little bit higher. I wish that was your main call to action, like above the signatures.
That's a good idea. So flipping, yeah, that's a good idea.
I think it's so strong.
This is a very strong appeal. And there is a second sheet. So I'm not sure how this gets sent out, or if you could explain that a little bit.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Okay.
There's like a whole
So
second
it's
page.
a 17 by 11 and folds in half. So you see the front page on the right. So the USDA or US Today is the back side of it.
I see.
And this, I believe, would be the centerfold then.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Cool.
So they're presented right away with a very strong appeal.
Yeah. And I mean, I think all the content around it really does serve it well. So I love your appeal. I would maybe just move that CTA up a little bit because I love the PS. I think it's very engaging. So maybe that's the only real thing I would change about it. That and maybe asking for a specific gift size and like segmenting it out if you have the ability to do so, would be a nice way. And also giving just a sense of like what this overall campaign is and what your overall goals are. Yeah, I know there's like some questions in the chat about making some of the URLs available. With everyone's permission that has shared their appeal so far, I'll include the links to everything in the follow-up email that goes out tomorrow. Cool. I love the chat. There's like a lot of really great responses too and suggestions. It's really, really cool how I love everyone's insight. Cool. I don't know, Abby, do we want to do, I know it's 1:50. Do we do one more? Do we have time, you think?
We have time.
Time for one more? All right.
Yeah.
So let's see. I have others queued up that I picked out separately, but I think we should take one from the chat. So do you want to pick one out?
Yeah, let's see here. There's a couple Google Drives. So just sent out requests to access those. Oh, we have a direct mailer from Ride All Wood. Is that correct, Katina? So let's see if I can share my screen this time.
If not, I can pull it up to you.
Okay. So this one is clearly a holiday one from last year. And right up at the top, they already have donate by December 2020 to have your gift match. So there's a reason to give before the end of the year. And it says, "Dear James, have you ever felt incredibly alone and so scared, but you didn't feel like you could tell anyone? I have. But the day I flushed $3,000 worth of drugs down the toilet was the day I started to say yes to peace, hope, and love. I found these gifts at Rida Wood Addiction and Family Services, thanks to the kindness of donors like you. My name is Andrea. I'm 34 years old, and today I'm doing the best I can to take care of myself. For many years, I used hard drugs and alcohol to numb my feelings. During this time of life was just about going through the motion. I went to school and I worked. I did my best to hide my substance use problems. When my mom and dad would ask me if I was okay, I would tell them that I was fine, denying how I was really feeling. Eventually, though, things started to unravel. Over 6 years, my life became more and more unmanageable. My older brother, who I love dearly, almost cut me out of his life because I was so cruel to him without being sorry at all. I got myself into trouble with the law. I started not showing up to work, and eventually I lost my job. I remember my boss said to me, "I don't know what you're doing, Andrea, but I know you're hurting yourself and I don't know why." It was his words that gave me the boost I needed to get help. I found a therapist, and for the first time, I was honest with another human being about everything I had been bottling up inside. My therapist soon recognized that I needed help from professionals, specifically trained in addictions. It was at this time that I chose Rida Wood, and I'm so glad I did. And I'm so grateful that you have been a part of my recovery journey. Oh my goodness. Okay, this is a beautiful story, but I'm going to kind of pause there because it is 2 pages. So I'm going to jump down to here. So this is why I'm hoping that you'll choose to make a meaningful gift today, especially because Tubman Funeral Homes will match your gift dollar for dollar and double its value to $2,000. This generous offer will apply to all donations received by December 31st. Your support is so important right now. Since the pandemic, the need for Rida Wood services has grown. People urgently need your help to turn away from addiction. They're ready and wanting to get better. A contribution from you brings peace, hope, and love because these holiday gifts are also gifts of recovery. Please make your donation today. And again, down at the bottom, we reiterate, please make your gift by December 31st to see your gift double in value. So it's a beautiful story. I don't see in here if it does say his initial gift from last year was $1,000 to make the $2,000 value. So that might be just one of the things that I add, like your gift from last year was 1,000. If you make that again, you could see the value double to 2,000.
Yeah. Or, I mean, I guess, I don't know if this is segmented or not exactly, because it seems like, Yeah, I think it's kind of saying that like maybe every gift up to 2000, like all the gifts up to $2,000 are matched.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure if that's like $2,000 total match or if like each individual gift up to $2,000 each is matched. So I'm
Right.
not, I'm a little hazy on the details, but I think the fact that you have gift, like this gift matching um, at the top of the page and then reiterated throughout is really great. So you're doing great on kind of like showcasing that. Studies have shown that donors will give about 50% more when a match is in place because they feel like their dollars are going further. So that's a great part of your appeal. I love that your appeal is not written from the executive director. It's actually written from a former client. So the whole thing is in the words of one of the beneficiaries. So
Mhm.
I love that part of the appeal. And you also have a really strong call to action to donate today. So those are three things I think you're doing really well. This is very long, and I think you would benefit greatly from kind of putting your organization more closely to the top of the page. Because I think your organization is mentioned really far down in the well, it's mentioned, maybe it's red. Oh, I found the
Oh, it
gifts
is
that,
in the
yeah.
second.
Okay,
Yep.
gotcha. But I think just tying it into how um or getting to the place where this person found your services and it started to change their life a lot quicker would be very helpful, just to keep your readers engaged. I think the bolding is great though. It kind of keeps those statements like,
Yeah, it really pulls things out.
mhm.
Yeah. Overall, the story is beautiful and the call to action is really, really strong.
The call to action is really great. So yeah, and I love the emphasis on the matching. So really good. All right. I think that's pretty much all the time we had. I saw we had a bunch of ones that we didn't get to. And I would love to connect with each of you. If you want to email me at candace@causevox.com, I'd be happy to connect with you. And I don't know, Abby, if you want to share yours as well, we can
Happy
both
to.
kind of follow up and, take a look at these appeals. Emily, I saw you submitted the Climb Out of Darkness. I'd love to share more. Emily's one of our customers here at CauseVox, and so I'd love to connect with you to work on your appeal too. I have a couple of just, last minute things here. So just to reiterate again, some of the components of what a great fundraising appeal entails. It's succinct and readable, easy to read. It's accurately explains what you're trying to accomplish with this campaign, explaining why it matters that you accomplish that and who's benefiting. Tells a story, casts vision of how that story really goes a long way to making more stories possible, and then has that clear call to action to donate with a sense of urgency. So that's what I've picked out as some of the components of a great appeal. If you also think otherwise and think there's other things that make appeals great, I would also love to hear from you. I have a fundraising appeal workshop coming up. So if you want to workshop your appeal, I'm actually going to be leading a class. It's going to be a step-by-step framework. It's very interactive where we're going to actually walk through writing a fundraising appeal in class. And I'm going to be asking individuals who want to workshop your appeal with the class. So you'll get feedback from all of the fundraisers in attendance and how you can improve. I'll also be going over more examples of fundraising appeals that have succeeded in the past. And you'll have the opportunity to get your drafted appeal reviewed with me as well. This whole 2-hour session is only $65. And for all of you here today, I'm going to take $15 off for you with Appeal 15. Let me actually paste in the link to this. Of course, this is also going to be available in the follow-up email. So I think I lost it, but that appeal workshop is coming up on November 5th. So just in time for Giving Tuesday and year-end appeals. I have Abby's next step here for you as well.
Yeah, I have a few VIP days left. When I made this, there were 8. Now there's only 6, so I'm sorry. But a VIP day with me is a 6-hour one-on-one session. I do a complete audit of your fundraising strategies before the session, and then we really just deep dive and focus on developing a strategic fundraising plan to meet the goals that you have. And that plan could be a 1-year plan, that could be a 3 or 5-year plan, whatever you have, whatever goals you have, happy to help you out.
Awesome. And if you need to raise funds online with Giving Tuesday, year end, or any other upcoming fundraising initiatives, need a place to put that well-crafted appeal, you can create your campaign site with CauseVox. You can brand it and set your goals and have that appeal right on your page, ready to share across multiple platforms. We have integrated sharing options with Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and email, and more if you copy and paste the link elsewhere. Yeah, I mean, it's worked well for the thousands of organizations that we've worked with, and I think it would work well for you too. So feel free to reach out to me if you're interested in getting set up with a campaign site for your upcoming fundraising campaign. And now I know we're at time, but if we want to stay on, if you have some time, Abby, we can take a few questions.
I'd be happy to.
Awesome. So, all right. So let's see. What questions do we have here? I'm having trouble. Are you able to? Oh, here we go. Any questions that you have for us? What are your hurdles when it comes to writing an appeal?
I saw a question a little further back that said, how can you structure your CTA into a more tangible ask when you're fundraising for general operating funds? And I love that question because it's really common for nonprofits to use like a Giving Tuesday or your seasonal giving and year-end giving for operational funds. So I think making sure that people know that your operational funds are really important to your services to clients. It's not the glamorous, like 15 people are served because of this, but we're able to keep our lights on and do this because of that. A lot of times when we get those type of appeals, they're not specifically to new donors or younger donors because the tangibility of it doesn't really sit well with them. They want to see the impact more than they need to know you need to keep your lights on. So I typically work with more major donors or specific sponsors who understand that nonprofits are a business. Nonprofits have those overhead funds that they need to have filled in order to do their work. So that's a sideways kind of fundraising appeal to sponsors and major donors versus the individual donors that you might do for the majority of your year-end appeals.
Yeah, we had another question just come in from Erin that says, any tips for appeals when your organization cannot issue tax receipts? We are a nonprofit, not a charity, so donors may be deterred by that. So, I mean, I think if you write your appeal well enough and people are convinced that their donation is making an impact, I don't even know that it matters. Even just for most people, like very practically speaking, a lot of people, unless they're donating exorbitant amounts of money, don't really benefit much from the tax deductibility anyway. So I know, like, I don't have millions of dollars that I'm getting big tax breaks on. So I think like the tax break thing is maybe more compelling to people who are giving larger amounts, to be honest. So for campaigns like this, I think as long as you can convince your reader and those who are landing on your page or reading your appeal in the mail or wherever it's going, as long as they're convinced that they're making an impact with their gift, that's really what it's all about. They shouldn't be incentivized to give because they might get a tax break from it. So that's not really end of day what compels people.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever received a tax receipt, and if I have, I've never looked at it. So I don't see that as a big issue.
And I think there's something to drive urgency, because I know part of it is like, oh, getting your donation in by December 31st and you can get a tax deduction. I mean, it's the
Mhm.
holidays, you're able to
Right.
kind of use the, hey, it's the season of giving, and kind of use that language around, basically the holidays and the end of the year. By the end of the year, don't you want to make an impact in someone's life? Make that um, your, your,
Push.
yeah, your push, and make that your resolution for next year,
There you go.
and do it now. So, you can play around with the language around that quite a bit. Cool. Any other questions? I'm actually going to paste in the chat the link to the workshop if anyone is interested. Again, the discount is appeal 15.
Emily, the question, call it a gift and not a donation. I think it really comes off with what your marketing is going to be for that gift or donation. So whatever your campaign verbiage you're going to use, just keep the same word.
Cool. All right. I think that's it. I'm trying to scroll back. We've gotten such great engagement on this webinar. It's been really fun, everybody. So thank you for participating and being part of it. And I'll go ahead and follow up with that email tomorrow with the recording. You're going to get the slides. I will send out the links to anything I'm able to that we went over today as well. So you'll be able to review those. And yeah, and I'll send over Abby's details too. So if anyone wants to work with Abby, you can follow up with her as well and get all of that great nonprofit strategy that she is offering. So thank you so much, Abby, for being here. This has been
Thank
really
you.
fun. Yeah. All right. Thanks all again. And this was fun. I would love to chat with each of you and help you get your fundraising up and running too. So cool. All right. Have a good rest of your day, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Take care. Thanks again, Abby.